In this podcast, I will explain the things you need to implement into your life in order to start improving yourself. These are the exact things that I do and have done at some point in time. So let's get into how you could start this lifelong journey. The first thing you need when starting self improvement is a purpose. Why are you trying to improve yourself? Who do you want to become? These are the biggest questions that you need to reflect on because without a great why on, why you want to improve your life and why do you want to improve who you are as a person, you'll give up at the slightest amount of difficulty. This is the biggest thing with self-improvement is that you could constantly fall back into old bad habits, and it does get frustrating. You do start to get annoyed with yourself and you do start to blame yourself a lot. You ask yourself, I thought I wanted to become better, I thought I wanted more, but yet I keep wasting time, I keep procrastinating. I made another mistake, and it does get frustrating. But if you have a greater why to why you even started this in the first place, this journey, then you'll understand that those difficulties is a constant battle and you'll always face them. There are certain things about my self improvement journey that I still struggle with till this day. And I started self improvement realistically about 2 years ago now. So if you can't deal with that, it's because you didn't realize that it would be more difficult than it seems. For example, something as waking up early. I always say to myself, no matter what time I go to bed, I'm going to wake up 4 so I have the most amount of time to complete stuff in a day. But now with the new business I'm pursuing, there's sometimes I have very late nights and I can't get up at 4. Like physically, I try my best to, but I don't. I turn off that alarm and I go back to sleep, right? And it's a constant battle because, in my opinion, I still want to get up as early as possible so I could get all my tasks done. But I'll fall short sometimes and end up sleeping in a bit because I'm so tired because I went to bed so late. So it's just one of those things that you understand that you can't quit, even if something as that example, I'm still trying to, wake up every day the same time, no matter what time I went to bed. But I still struggle and I still fall short sometimes. So you got to understand that you won't always be perfect, in that you also will always be pursuing something that you might fail many times before you overcome that bad habit, right? So you have to keep that in mind. The next thing is you need to have humility for who you currently are. And this was the biggest thing for me, is the only reason why I started my self-improvement journey was because I looked in the mirror, assessed who I was as a person, assessed the actions that I was taking on a day-to-day basis, and didn't like who I was and didn't like what I was doing. Let's take a quick break to speak about the sponsor for the podcast. I am now working with a company called Attilius Apparel, and if you want Christian fitness wear that looks like this, or this, click the link in the description. Now let's get back into the podcast. And it was only then when I realized that I could be doing way more for myself and develop into a person that I could be proud of being. That's when I was able to start my self improvement journey and actually find the importance in becoming a better version of myself. So if you don't have humility in the beginning to realize that you have many faults and that you have many areas of your life that need to be worked on, you will never actually start and you'll never stay consistent, right? It's about your why, and it's about having humility in order to start the journey of self improvement. So, the biggest thing you could do right now before you start implementing the day to day tasks that I will be mentioning soon is that you have to realize who you are right now and what areas of your life can be improved. And then you can structure your day to have those self improvement habits in order to start developing your character. So, the first practical task that you need to implement on a day to day basis is meditation and prayer. These are the biggest things for me. I started meditation before I actually got closer with God. So, I was meditating before I started praying. But People will sometimes link meditation to a religious practice, but it doesn't even have to be a religious practice. The way I meditate, for example, is I just sit down, I set a timer, and I just focus on my breathing. Why is this important? This is important because being present is what allows you to do the right things on a day-to-day basis. The reason why you end up scrolling for an hour when you didn't intend to was because you weren't present. So, developing mindfulness on a day-to-day basis through meditation is what can help allow you to not do those things, right? The times I mostly scroll or I end up, not being mindful of my actions are the days that I didn't do my meditation in the morning. I end up scrolling because I didn't have those minutes of mindfulness and those minutes of being present, right? So that was one of the first self-improvement habits that I implemented into my life. And after, a week, I already started to see results. People might think it's a flimsy thing, or they might think that it doesn't actually drastically change your life, but all it does is give you presence. And when you're present and you're mindful, you tend not to do things that are a detriment to yourself, right? It's, for example, if you enjoy playing video games from time to time, if you're someone that is more mindful and more present, when you play, you'll understand when to get off, you know, because you have something else to do instead of just playing game after game. And then before you realize that you've been playing for 4 hours straight. So all of that can be avoided with mindfulness and presence, and that comes through meditation. And then that's where prayer comes in as well. Because my form of prayer is I always ask God for guidance throughout my day, for me to make the right decisions, for me to do the right things, right? And when you structure your day as the start of your day is meditation and prayer, it sets a good standard for the rest of your day, and you're more intentional with what you are doing, right? And if you ask God, for example, to give you presence as well, and you ask God for, the wisdom to make the right decisions in your day, then you'll most likely always make the right decisions and always do the tasks needed to be done. You won't get distracted because you kind of set that standard from the beginning of the day. So I think those are two things that if you just implement today, and you don't have to start with anything crazy, right? You meditate for 5 minutes, you pray for 5 minutes, and then that's 10 minutes of your day that sets a good standard for the rest of the day, right? So I think those are the two biggest things that you could just start today, and you'll already start to see improvement within yourself. The next thing is I believe that every single person on the planet needs a physical pursuit. What does a physical pursuit look like? The way I tend to explain this is everyone needs something that is physical for your body that you are constantly trying to get better at. For me, it's bodybuilding. It's just going to the gym, trying to lift heavier, trying to beat my reps from last week, trying to build muscle, trying to get better with cardio, all these things. It gives you something to work for every single day that you directly impact, right? The reason why people love the gym so much is it's because it's one of the few things that you have complete control over. You know within yourself that if you go to the gym every single day, you eat right, you are going to make progress and you will see that progress. For example, me, I started implementing cardio, started fasting, and I'm already getting leaner. It was a direct correlation from my actions, and I started seeing results pretty quickly. So that's why I believe everyone needs a physical pursuit. And it could be anything, right? It could be a sport that you're just trying to get better with and you practice every single day. There's something I tried not too long ago with a friend. It was archery, and I saw myself and I thought maybe this is a hobby I pick up this year because it was very enjoyable and I could see the physical pursuit that's within it, getting a better shot, trying to up your numbers, learning the proper technique. If you just have something like that every single day that you're constantly trying to improve on, it'll keep you structured and it'll keep your mind focused on a goal. And that's the best way to start. You need a physical pursuit. If that's running, if that's the gym, if that's a sport, every single person needs something that they're constantly striving for to be better in. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that could directly improve the quality of your life and improve your mental health. Because I know within myself, if I go a week without going to the gym and I'm lazy or whatever, my mental health is going to be worse than if I was going to the gym every day that I needed to go. So that's why every single person needs a physical pursuit. The next thing you can do, and this is something that maybe even I struggle with on a day-to-day basis, but you need to pick something challenging every day, right? And this is exactly where cold showers come in. Cold showers within themselves aren't going to make you successful. They aren't going to make you rich. But the reason why people do cold showers is because you're doing something that you absolutely don't want to do, and you're kind of facing that challenge head on. Imagine this. Imagine it's 5 a.m. You wake up, and the first thing you do is a cold shower. You are not going to do anything in your day that is as difficult as that, in the sense of you putting yourself through it on purpose, because no one is forcing you to take a cold shower, and you're the one getting up and doing it. And it's really uncomfortable because you're just woken up from your comfortable bed and you hop into a cold shower. No one wants to do that. But the reason why people do it is because it starts your day off with something really challenging that you don't want to do. And that's why you need something every single day that is very difficult. For example, it's extremely cold in Canada right now. And, there's a task I've been trying to do every single day where it's just going for a walk outside. And, when you're going for a walk outside and it's still dark out and it's freezing, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go for a walk. I already did my 30 minutes of cardio plus I'm adding that, but it's something challenging that my brain is telling me not to do and telling me it's not important. You already did your cardio. What's the point? But when you do it, you feel better afterwards because you already did something challenging. So that's why, in order to develop yourself as a person, the biggest thing you need to go through is uncomfortability, right? So if you could start your day off with a chosen task that you know you're going to hate, that you know is going to be difficult to stick to, and it's challenging yourself, that is another way you could start developing your character and developing your discipline, because then that discipline will start to pour in to other areas of your life, because you'll say to yourself, oh, I really didn't want to do that thing today and I still did it. Now I feel great about it. So that's why you need to pick something that you can stick to on a day-to-day basis that is challenging for yourself, because that is the quickest way to start developing your character. The next task that you can implement starting today is just starting to read. I was someone that grew up, never really enjoyed reading. The only time I would read a book was in school. But then I had a change of heart once I discovered Stoicism and I started reading books and really starting to enjoy it. And the thing is that reading in itself doesn't mean you're smart or doesn't mean you're intelligent. It's just a medium of conveying information. If it's a fiction story, if it's a historical book, whatever. But the reason why I enjoy reading the most is because it's the least form of brain rot. You could watch TikToks that are very knowledgeable and informational and educational, but it's coming at a very fast pace, and this information is just getting thrown at you. The thing about books is, like, the reason why I say they're less brain rot is because it's a slower task, right? It's more difficult to read a book than it is to watch a YouTube video. So if you could start just by reading 10 pages a day, you'll feel better and you'll be learning something at the same time, right? I always, like, if I go on a prolonged time of reading, like let's say I block out 2 hours on the weekend to read in a row, after reading, my mind feels so, like, good. It just feels good. I feel clear headed, and I retained a lot of the information from the books when I take a long time. I set a long time aside to read. But if you could just start with 10 pages a day, it gives you, a way of learning that isn't coming from a digital source like TikTok or YouTube or something like that. And it's not a big commitment, right? 10 pages a day isn't going to take you that long to read, and you're growing your knowledge as you read these books. And the biggest thing I could say when it comes to reading is never force yourself to read something you don't like. I have a friend, I have actually probably a couple friends that when they read books, they will read half of it, and if they're not interested in it anymore, at that designated time, they'll start reading another book. Never feel forced to finish a book when you don't want to read it, because that's when you won't retain the information and you won't actually gain anything from reading the book. So that's another thing you can implement into your life, that you could slowly start to see improvements within yourself, and that'll bring you more presence of mind because you won't be, hyper stimulated with a digital source instead of, reading a book, which doesn't have that. It's very slow pace and it's way less brain rot, as I said before. The next thing you could do in your self improvement journey that I think is one of the biggest things that will help you out is the importance of having someone to look up to, right? I remember when I first started self improvement, the first way I actually discovered self improvement, because obviously improving yourself, everyone does it without them realizing it. They go through life, they're faced with new challenges, they overcome them, and they develop as a person because of those circumstances. But self improvement, in my opinion, once you're aware of it and once you seek it, that's where it's different. And they're both similar, but if you're in an active lifestyle where you're constantly seeking improvement, I think that's a better way of looking at life, in my opinion. But it's having someone to look up to that might be in a position as you want to be in the future, and kind of learning from them, right? The first thing that happened to me was I discovered Hamza, and he was posting self-improvement content in 2022 and 2023, and that's when I started watching and understanding that you can actively seek out improvements within your life. So at first it was him. It was seeing his videos and thinking to myself that I wanted to be a content creator one day. I wanted to post content. And then seeing the way he was able to develop his communication, seeing his first ever videos to the videos now, they're completely different. He almost looks like a completely different person. So he was like one of the first people I looked up to when it came to self improvement. And I think it's very good to kind of not see a finish line, but see someone that you kind of want to be like, not in every area of your life, but there's certain things about them that you want to achieve as well and you want to be like as well. And you kind of just strive for that, right? I remember walking to the gym. The walk to my gym at the time was like 30 minutes, and I would just be listening to his videos, learning more and more about self improvement. Now I have a business mentor that I look up to and is kind of living a life that I would want in the future. So that's kind of who I look up to now. But you always need a mentor. You always need someone to look up to, because that gives you kind of like a goal in your mind. And it's a physical manifestation of what you want, because this person has achieved exactly what you want. So you know what's possible. And then you kind of just strive day by day to get closer and closer to that position that they're in as well, right? And the importance is, never think that you have to be exactly like that person, but there's certain aspects of them that if you improve yourself enough, you can have that similar life, right? But just don't get too fixed on being exactly who that person is, especially when you're younger. I feel like when you're younger, when I was younger, I kind of had that mindset that I just wanted to be like that person, but you need to be your own individual self, and you could kind of take little pieces of all these mentors in your life and then apply it to yourself and become your own individual. Don't be too rigid and be focused on being exactly like that person. So, we went over humility, meditation, having a physical pursuit, picking something challenging every single day, and starting to read, and also finding a mentor. I believe these are the first steps to self improvement, and they are very simple to start implementing today. Things like meditation, humility, finding a physical pursuit, picking something challenging, and reading. These are all things that you could start today. Maybe something like humility is a journal practice, and it might take a couple days to kind of understand who you are and who you want to become. But those other day-to-day tasks, you could start that right after watching this podcast. There is no excuse. You start small and you slowly build on those habits. And then for the last one, the mentor, you want to pick the right mentor that is relatable to you, that maybe has gone through the same things you've gone through, because then once you learn from them, you'll kind of accept what they teach easier, because they understand who you are and where you've come from. So that might take longer, but that's definitely something you should be striving to look for. No matter what career or what you want to be or who you want to become, I feel that every single person needs to have a mentor. But if you start all those tasks today, I am telling you, your life will become better. You'll feel better about yourself in the next couple weeks. Just those small changes will make all the difference. All right. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast and making it this far. If you enjoyed it, remember to follow us on Spotify. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Let me know in the comments what has been the most impactful episode of the Insightful Podcast so far, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take care, everybody.